of you. We now go to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Farenthold, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to, first, the members from industry on our panel, I'd like to thank you guys for coming up and sharing your thoughts and concerns. I hope you'll excuse me if I ignore you and talk to the government regulator that I think it may be giving you some of the problems. So if I could ask a couple of, Mr. Bromwich, you went through a lot of numbers here pretty quick, and I just wanted to make sure I got an adequate handle on those and talked a little bit about the pace that we're looking at. So there've been permits. You said there've been permits on 15 projects that have been issued since the moratorium was ended. Is that the correct number?
There are for deep water wells for activities that were prohibited under the moratorium. We have permitted 15 unique wells. The 15th was yesterday. Now, there are multiple permits frequently for individual unique wells, which leads to the larger number.
And of that 15, how many of them were in the process before the moratorium went into effect?
Well, it depends what you mean by in the process. Could you clarify what you mean?
That had filed the application that you all had been working on and just stuck on the shelf.
Well, we hadn't stuck any on the shelf. A number of the projects were ongoing. They were stopped by the moratorium, and then applications had to be resubmitted to make sure that they complied with new enhanced safety regulations.
Right. So the number I have, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is there are about 4 or 5 that are actually new ones that weren't resubmitted, or however you want to, that weren't already in the works prior to the moratorium.
That's about right. I think the number actually may be slower, but those are still projects that are ongoing that put people back to work. So the distinction between projects that had been previously submitted and new projects is really quite irrelevant.
And so how long are we looking at, if I'd gotten a lease and wanted to drill a well, how long under the current process would it typically take, assuming I'm reasonable about my paperwork?
Well, that's a big assumption. One of the challenges that we've seen that industry has faced, and they fully acknowledge this, is that they have frequently submitted both plans that are incomplete and non-compliant, and permit applications that are incomplete and non-compliant. We are working with industry every day to try to eliminate the number of times that we have to return either plans or permits so that we can process them straight on through and approve them.
But is this a result of the fact there's so many new regulations that y'all aren't even completely sure what needs to be done? The complaint I'm hearing from, well, my friends in the industry, I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas. It's pretty big in Gulf drilling. Is that they don't even know what they need to do to satisfy your criteria. I mean, I understand there's some growing pains, but I mean, these things were getting out in 2 weeks prior to the Deepwater Horizon.
Before the new enhanced safety or environmental regulations. That's right. They were being churned out quickly, and the new safety and environmental rules makes the process move a little more slowly. So
are we talking now 2 months, 6 months? I mean, if we've only got 4 new ones since February, that seems like we're looking at much longer.
Well, I can tell you, Congressman Farenthold, that if a fully compliant exploration plan was submitted and then a fully compliant APD, an application to drill, was submitted, we're talking about a few weeks, not a large number of months. That has not so far been our experience so far. But I take issue with your suggestion that industry doesn't understand what the requirements are, because I think they do. I think they didn't fully understand them at the beginning. I think they do now. And if you talk to them today, I think they would acknowledge that.
Would the gentleman yield?
I will. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Would you say that months ago when the moratorium officially was lifted, that you had full and complete guidance available to those oil companies on that day?
No, I don't think we had full and complete guidance. But let me make something clear, Mr.
Okay, that's all I really wanted, because I
do want to reclaim my time.
The new rules that I focused on in my opening statement were issued October 15th, so 3 days after the moratorium was lifted. And that's what began the adjustment time and cost, both for industry and to some extent for us. So I just wanted to clarify the timeline.
And what's happening with the 33 previously permitted deepwater wells?
Well, we don't track them that way, Congressman. A number of them have not resubmitted their applications, and we obviously can't do anything about that. We can only act on the applications that we have
So
in hand.
they were permitted, the rules changed, you moved the goalpost, and they have to start over again.
No, that's not the way I'd put it at all. One of the main obstacles to companies getting their permits approved is the fact that they now have to demonstrate access to and the ability to deploy containment. I don't think you or I want anybody drilling in deep water that can't show that.
I'm out of time, so if we get to another round of questions, I do have a couple more. So thank you very much.